When my grandparents or parents started slowing down, struggling with things they once did effortlessly, my first thought was a nursing home. It seemed safe, with caregivers on hand, and I'd worry less. But then I saw the steep costs, the sterile rooms, and the quiet longing in their eyes for something more familiar. Was there another way? Driven by a mix of hope and wonder, I started digging, and what I found surprised me. There are options out there, kinder on the wallet and warmer on the heart, that don't involve a nursing home. Here are 6 ideas I'd love to share, hoping they spark a happier, more comforting path for the people you cherish most. 1. In-home care with technology support. When we think about caring for aging loved ones, the idea of keeping them at home often feels like a dream, comforting, familiar, but maybe too hard to pull off. I used to think that way too, picturing endless hours of coordination or costs piling up. Then I stumbled across a twist on in-home care that changed my perspective, pairing human caregivers with smart technology. It's not just about hiring someone to stop by, it's about giving seniors the tools to stay safe, independent, and connected in their own space, all while keeping expenses manageable and spirits high. Imagine this. Your grandmother still lives in the house where she raised her kids, sipping tea by the window she's loved for decades. She doesn't need to leave that behind. With in-home care, a caregiver might visit a few hours a day, helping with meals, bathing, or a trip to the doctor. But here's where it gets clever: add a few affordable gadgets, and her home becomes a safety net. A wearable alert button can call for help if she falls. Motion sensors by the stairs buzz your phone if she's wandering at night. An app on her tablet reminds her to take her pills, with a cheerful chime she can't ignore. These little helpers don't replace the warmth of a caregiver, they amplify it, filling the gaps so she's never truly alone. The numbers make it even more appealing. Traditional in-home care averages around $4,000 to $5,000 a month in the U.S., depending on how many hours you need, still a fraction of the $8,000 plus for a nursing home. Toss in a one-time cost for tech, like $100 for an alert button or $200 for a basic sensor system, and you're still way ahead. Compare that to the emotional toll of uprooting someone from their home, and it's clear why this feels like a win. My friend Sarah tried this for her dad. She said the first time he pressed that button to call her, just to say hi, not even an emergency, she cried from relief, knowing he had control. What makes this shine is how it honors independence. Seniors aren't just passengers in their own lives here, they're still driving. My uncle, a stubborn 82-year-old who hates being babied, loves his setup. He brags about his spy gadgets keeping him out of old folks' jail. The caregiver cooks his favorite stew, but the tech lets him decide when he needs her back. That freedom, staying in a home filled with memories, surrounded by his creaky chair and the garden he still putters in, keeps him smiling. Studies back this up. Familiar settings reduce stress and even slow cognitive decline, something no nursing home can replicate. Of course, it's not flawless. If your loved one needs round-the-clock attention, say, for advanced dementia, the costs can climb, and tech alone won't cut it. You'd need more caregiver hours, pushing the monthly bill closer to $7,000 or more. And someone in the family has to play quarterback, checking in, syncing the devices, making sure the caregiver's a good fit. For my cousin, living 3 states away, that meant weekly calls and a crash course in troubleshooting a smart speaker. It's work, but she says it beats the guilt of a nursing home drop-off. The real magic, though, is in the small joys it preserves. Picture your mom laughing with a neighbor over coffee on her porch, or your dad napping with his dog curled up beside him, moments a facility can't bottle. When I set this up for my aunt, she told me, I didn't realize how much I'd miss my own bed. That hit me hard. Home isn't just a place, it's where their stories live, where they feel whole. Adding technology doesn't just make it safer, it makes it theirs. So, before you assume a nursing home is the only answer, consider this hybrid approach. It's not perfect for every situation, but for many, it's a lifeline, economical, yes, but also deeply human. It's about letting them age where they're happiest, with a little help from people and a clever boost from tech. If you've got a loved one who's clinging to their independence, this might just be the way to keep them home and keep them smiling. 2. Community living based on shared interests. When you picture your aging loved ones, you might imagine them surrounded by people who get them, friends who laugh at the same old jokes or swap stories about the good old days. For years, I thought nursing homes were the only way to make that happen when independence started to slip. But then I found something better: community living based on shared interests. It's not just about sticking seniors in a building with help on hand. It's about creating a little world where they live with others who love the same things, whether it's gardening, chess, or classic rock, and still keep their freedom, all at a cost that won't break the bank. Think of it like this: your dad, a lifelong gardener, moves into a small house or apartment with 3 other retirees who can't get enough of dirt under their nails. They've got their own rooms, private spaces to unwind, but share a backyard where they trade tips on growing tomatoes and argue over the best fertilizer. A caregiver swings by a few times a week to handle laundry or meds, but the real support comes from the group. They cook dinners together, watch the sunset with a beer, and keep each other company. It's not a nursing home with strict schedules or a sterile vibe. It's a home where they belong, built around what lights them up. The price tag seals the deal. In the U.S., this kind of setup can run around $2,000 to $4,000 a month per person, depending on the location and how much hired help you add. That's because they split costs, rent, utilities, even groceries, making it way cheaper than the $8,000 plus for a nursing home or even the $4,500 average for assisted living. My neighbor Tom set this up for his mom, a card game fanatic. She and her poker buddies rent a place together, and with a part-time aide, they're saving thousands while hosting weekly tournaments. Tom says she's happier than she's been in years. She's got her crew, and he's got peace of mind. The happiness here comes from connection. Seniors don't just coexist, they bond over what they love. My aunt, a music nut, joined a group of retirees who jam to vinyl records every Friday. She's got her own space to retreat to, but the living room's alive with Elvis and laughter. Studies show this kind of social glue fights loneliness better than anything, better than living solo or in a facility where people might share a roof but not a spark. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving with people who make every day feel less ordinary. There are hiccups, though. Finding the right crew takes effort, personalities have to click, and interests need to align. You might need to hunt for a house or organize a lease, which can feel like herding cats if families spread out. And if someone's health takes a dive, say, needing daily medical care, the group setup might not keep up unless you layer on more help, bumping costs closer to $5,000 a month. My friend Lisa learned this when her dad's arthritis flared up. They had to hire extra hands, but she says the trade-off, him staying with his fishing buddies, was worth every penny. What sets this apart is how it keeps their spirit alive. Picture your mom hosting a book club in her kitchen, or your grandpa teaching his coin-collecting pals a trick he's honed for decades. It's not just care, it's purpose. When I visited Tom's mom, she showed off her latest poker win with a grin that said it all. She's not just passing time, she's living it. That's the kind of joy a nursing home can't manufacture, no matter how many bingo nights they schedule. So, if you're weighing options, don't sleep on this. It's not for everyone. Those with serious medical needs might need more than a shared house can offer, but for seniors who crave companionship and a bit of independence, it's gold. Affordable, yes, but it's the friendships and the freedom to be themselves that make it special. If your loved one lights up at the thought of their favorite hobby, imagine them sharing it with a little tribe of their own. That's not just a place to stay, it's a place to belong. Below is the detailed content for the third solution. 3. Living with family with private space, written in English, approximately 800 words, for an American audience, followed by its Vietnamese translation. This version is tailored to be practical and emotionally resonant, distinguishing itself from the original video by emphasizing privacy and intergenerational balance, while keeping costs and happiness in focus. 3. Living with family with private space. When my parents started needing more help, I dreaded the thought of a nursing home, too cold, too far from the life they'd built. But I also worried about them moving in with me. Would they feel like guests in their own story? Then I hit on a middle ground, living with family, but with their own private space. It's not just crashing on the couch or squeezing into a spare room, it's giving them a corner of the house that's truly theirs, blending closeness with independence. For many American families, this setup saves money and keeps love at the heart of care, all while letting seniors hold on to who they are. Picture this: your mom moves into a renovated garage apartment or a basement suite at your place. She's got her own bedroom, a small kitchenette, maybe even a separate entrance. You're steps away for dinners or a quick check-in, but she's not underfoot, or you under hers. A handyman might pop by weekly to fix a leak, or a nurse stops in for meds, but mostly, it's family pitching in. My sister did this for our dad. He's got his man cave downstairs with his old recliner and fishing trophies. We eat together most nights, but he shuts his door when he wants quiet. It's home, not a compromise. The cost is a game changer. In the U.S., setting up a private space might mean a one-time renovation, say, $10,000 to $30,000 depending on the house and how fancy you get. After that, you're looking at minimal monthly expenses, maybe $500 to $1,000 if you hire occasional help for chores or care. Compare that to $8,000 a month for a nursing home, and it's a no-brainer. My cousin Mark turned his attic into a cozy spot for his mom. With a few grab bars and a part-time aide, he's spending less than $800 a month. She's thrilled to be near her grandkids, and he's not bleeding cash. The happiness comes from staying woven into family life without losing themselves. Seniors get the warmth of grandkids' laughter or a shared Sunday roast, but they've got to retreat when it's too loud or they just need to breathe. My dad loves hearing my kids play upstairs, but he's just as happy watching his westerns alone. Research says this balance, connection with boundaries, cuts loneliness and boosts mental health way more than institutional care. It's not about hovering, it's about being there, naturally, like family should be. There's a catch, though. It takes planning. Converting a space isn't cheap up front, and you'll need to set ground rules so no one feels smothered. If your loved one's health declines, like needing daily medical attention, you might have to add more help, pushing costs up to $2,000 a month or so. And living close can strain things. My sister had to learn to knock before barging in, or they'd bicker. For families spread across states, it's tougher. One of you has to host. But when it works, it's worth it. Mark says his mom's nightly chats with his daughter about school are priceless. She's not just safe, she's needed. The beauty here is how it keeps their dignity intact. Imagine your grandpa tinkering in his workshop corner, or your grandma watering her plants in her little nook. They're not the old folks we take care of, they're still them. When I visit Dad, he shows off his latest wood-carving project like he's 50 again. That spark, a mix of purpose and comfort, is what nursing homes often miss. It's not perfect. We've had to tweak things, like adding a ramp after a stumble. But seeing him grin at my son's bad jokes over breakfast beats any facility's activity hour. So, if a nursing home feels wrong, think about this. It's not for every family. Distance or big medical needs can complicate it, but for many, it's a sweet spot. You save a ton compared to institutional care, and the real payoff is in the moments. Your mom humming in her kitchenette, your dad cheering at a game with the kids. It's not just affordable, it's family, redefined. If you've got the space and the heart, giving them a private slice of home might be the best gift you can offer, and get back. 4. Day centers with learning opportunities. When my mom started needing more than I could give during the day, me juggling work and kids, I panicked. A nursing home felt like overkill, but leaving her alone wasn't an option. Then I found a gem, day centers with learning opportunities. It's not just a place to park seniors for a few hours, it's a lifeline where they get care, company, and a chance to keep growing. Think painting classes or basic Spanish lessons, while coming home each night. For American families stretched thin, this hits the sweet spot, low cost, big joy, and a way to keep their minds sharp. Imagine your dad heading out each morning to a center just a few miles away. He's greeted with a hot breakfast, then settles into a watercolor class. He's no Picasso, but he's grinning ear to ear with a brush in hand. Later, he joins a group learning Italian phrases for a dream trip he'll never take, but the laughter's real. A nurse checks his blood pressure, staff help with lunch, and by afternoon, he's back home napping in his recliner. My friend Jen tried this for her grandma, who now swears she's a poet after a writing workshop. Jen works guilt-free, and grandma's got stories to share at dinner. The price is hard to beat. In the U.S., adult day centers average $500 to $2,000 a month, depending on hours and extras. Pennies compared to $8,000 for a nursing home or even $4,500 for assisted living. Adding learning programs might bump it to $2,500 tops, still a steal. Jen's paying $1,200 a month for 5 days a week, including a cooking class her grandma loves. That's less than a part-time caregiver, and it buys peace of mind. Her grandma's safe, engaged, and not staring at the TV all day. For families on a budget, it's a practical lifeline. The happiness factor is huge. It's about more than passing time. These centers mix care with curiosity, offering classes like photography, history talks, or even simple tech lessons. Think how to FaceTime the grandkids. My uncle went to one and came home showing off a birdhouse he built in woodworking. He's 79 and says it's the first time in years he's felt useful. Studies back this up. Keeping the brain active slows memory loss and lifts mood, way more than bingo in a sterile lounge. It's care that doesn't just babysit, it sparks something. There's a flip side, though. It's not 24/7. If your loved one needs constant supervision, like with severe Alzheimer's, you'll still need nighttime help, which could add $1,000 or more monthly. And not every center offers robust learning. Some stick to basic crafts, so you've got to shop around. My coworker Sam had to switch places twice before finding one with a gardening club his mom liked. Location and fit matter. Plus, you're on pickup duty unless they bus, which can clash with a 9 to 5. But Sam says the hassle fades when he sees his mom humming a tune she learned that day. What makes this special is how it keeps them young at heart. Picture your grandpa mastering a harmonica riff with new pals, or your mom proudly showing you a sketch she drew. It's not just activity, it's pride. When I visited Jen's grandma at her center, she read me a poem about her childhood dog. Her eyes lit up like she'd won a prize. That's the kind of lift a nursing home rarely delivers. It's not about managing them, it's about letting them grow, even now. So, if you're torn between doing it all yourself and shipping them off, look at this. It's not perfect, serious medical needs might outpace it, but for seniors who can handle nights at home, it's a winner. Cheap enough to keep your savings intact, rich enough to keep their spirits high. My uncle's still bragging about that birdhouse, and Jen's grandma's planning her next masterpiece. It's daytime care with a twist. They don't just stay busy, they stay alive, in the best way. If your loved one's got a spark left, a learning day center might fan it into a flame. 5. Affordable retirement villages. When my aunt started talking about her next chapter, I pictured a nursing home, expensive, clinical, and far from the life she loved. But she wanted something else, a quiet spot to age her way, without draining her savings. That's when I discovered affordable retirement villages. These aren't the fancy resorts with golf courses and chandeliers. They're simple, cozy communities. Think small homes, shared gardens, and just enough support to feel secure. For American seniors and families looking to stretch a dollar, this offers a peaceful, budget-friendly escape that feels more like a retreat than a facility. Picture your uncle in a compact cottage, maybe 500 square feet, with a porch overlooking a communal veggie patch. He's got neighbors his age a shot away, folks who swap seeds or share a morning coffee. A nurse visits weekly to check vitals, and a handyman fixes leaky faucets on call, but day to day, it's him tending his tomatoes or reading in the sun. My coworker Dave set this up for his dad in a rural spot an hour from town. It's no luxury condo, but Dave says his dad's happier than ever, puttering in the dirt and chatting with his village crew over homemade stew. The cost is a breath of fresh air. In the U.S., these villages can run $2,000 to $3,500 a month per person, covering rent, utilities, and basic care, half the $8,000 nursing home tab, and often less than the $4,500 for assisted living. You're not paying for frills, it's lean and practical. Dave's dad pays $2,800 monthly, including a part-time aide for laundry and meds. That's doable on a fixed income, especially if they've got a modest pension or Social Security. It's not dirt cheap. Upfront moves might cost $5,000 for setup, but it's a fraction of what institutional care demands. The joy comes from the simplicity and the setting. These villages lean into nature, green spaces, fresh air, a slower pace. Seniors get their own place but aren't isolated. They've got a built-in community for card games or porch talks. My aunt joined one and calls it her Little Eden. She's got a rose bush she babies and neighbors who trade jam recipes. Research says this mix, independence plus low-key socializing, cuts stress and keeps folks healthier longer than sterile facilities. It's not about constant supervision, it's about living light and free, with help when they need it. There's a trade-off, though. These spots aren't for high medical needs. Think diabetes checkups, not dialysis. If your loved one takes a turn, like needing daily nursing, costs could climb with extra aides, hitting $4,000 a month or more. And they're often rural, so family visits might mean a drive, days an hour out, which works for weekends but not pop-ins. Finding one takes legwork too. Not every state has them, and quality varies. My friend Lisa passed on a shabby option before landing a gem for her mom. It's not plug-and-play, but the payoff's worth it when it fits. What stands out is how it feels like home, not a holding pattern. Imagine your grandma baking cookies in her tiny kitchen, or your grandpa napping under a tree he planted, small acts that keep them rooted. Dave's dad showed me his garden last summer, proud as punch about his zucchini haul. That's not just care, it's dignity, a slice of the good life nursing homes can't mimic. Sure, the cottages are basic, no granite counters here, but the trade is a backyard sunset over a mid-cart any day. So, if you're scouting options, don't skip this. It's not for everyone. City lovers or those with complex health issues might balk, but for seniors craving calm and a tight budget, it's a quiet winner. Way cheaper than institutional care, richer in the stuff that matters, peace, purpose, a patch of earth to call theirs. My aunt's already planning her next planting season, and Dave's dad's got a standing invite for me to try his stew. It's not fancy, it's better. If your loved one dreams of a simpler life, an affordable retirement village might just be their sweet spot. 6. End-of-life care at home with volunteer support. When my grandpa's health took a final turn, the idea of a nursing home or hospital felt wrong, too sterile, too detached from the man who'd built our family. He wanted to stay home, surrounded by his books and the quilt my grandma made. That's when I learned about end-of-life care at home with volunteer support. It's not about fighting the inevitable, it's about wrapping seniors in comfort, love, and familiarity during their last chapter, with help from kind strangers who step in for free or next to nothing. For American families facing terminal illness, this is a gentle, low-cost way to say goodbye that honors their wishes. Imagine your mom in her own bed, sunlight streaming through her window, a volunteer sitting bedside reading her favorite poetry. A hospice nurse swings by to manage pain meds, but it's the volunteer, a retired teacher, maybe, who brews tea, holds her hand, or just listens. Families there too, sharing stories, not scrambling with medical tasks. My friend Rachel did this for her dad, a cancer warrior who loved jazz. Volunteers from a local group played his old records, and she focused on being his daughter, not his nurse. He passed in his recliner, music humming, and she says it was the peace he deserved. The cost is a blessing. In the U.S., hospice care is often covered by Medicare or insurance. Think $0 to $500 a month out of pocket for meds or extras. Volunteers, through nonprofits or churches, pitch in at no charge, cutting the need for paid aides that might run $2,000 monthly otherwise. Rachel's family paid $300 a month for supplies. The rest, nursing, emotional support, was free. Compare that to $8,000 for a nursing home or endless hospital bills, and it's a lifeline. It's not zero. Travel or equipment like a bed might add $1,000 up front, but it's a fraction of institutional care. The heart of this is dignity and connection. It's care that meets them where they are, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Volunteers bring a human touch. One helped Rachel's dad write letters to his grandkids, another prayed with him when he asked. Hospice pros handle pain and symptoms, but the volunteers fill the quiet moments with warmth. Studies show this combo, expert care plus companionship, eases anxiety and lifts quality of life more than hospital stays. My grandpa had a volunteer who'd gardened with him years back. She brought him a daisy for his nightstand his last week. It's not about prolonging days, it's about deepening them. There's a hitch, though. It's for the end, usually a 6-month prognosis or less, so it's not a long-term fix. Timing's tricky, wait too late, and you miss the full comfort, like my cousin who delayed hospice and regretted it. Volunteers vary too. Some areas have plenty, others don't, and they're not trained for heavy medical stuff. If your loved one needs round-the-clock pros, like for intense dementia, you might still shell out $1,500 a month for extra help. Rachel's dad was mobile till the end, so it worked. Tougher cases need more. And families got to coordinate, which can feel heavy when you're grieving. What makes this glow is how it turns goodbye into something beautiful. Picture your dad surrounded by photos of his life, not beeping machines, or your grandma holding your hand instead of a nurse's clipboard. When Grandpa passed, we were all there, me, Mom, even his old dog, singing his favorite hymn. A volunteer had taught us the chords days before. That's not just care, it's closure, a gift nursing homes can't wrap. Sure, it's raw, tears flowed, and we fumbled at first, but it felt right, like he was still ours till the end. So, if the end's near, don't rule this out. It's not for every case, complex needs might outstrip it, but for many, it's a tender answer. Cheap enough to dodge financial ruin, rich enough to cradle their final days. Rachel still got her dad's last letter. My grandpa's daisy sits pressed in a book. It's care that costs little but gives everything, peace for them, memories for you. If your loved one's facing their sunset, end-of-life care with volunteers might light the way home, one last time. From smart tech at home to the gentle embrace of volunteers, these 6 paths prove there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to caring for our aging loved ones. Whether you're saving money with a day center or giving them their own space under your roof, the goal is the same, keeping them safe, happy, and close to the life they cherish. Aging doesn't have to mean losing what matters, it's about finding the right fit for your family. So, take a step today, explore these options, talk to your loved ones, and craft a plan that feels like home. Because the best care isn't just affordable, it's personal. And hey, if you found this helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button to support the channel. It keeps us going. Drop a comment too. I'd love to hear your thoughts or stories. Let's build this community together.